Not a little guest. Oh, you know what? My mic was actually
Hello.
muted. I'm gonna have to redo that. All right. So today is our third official podcast. Today we're talking about the Brendan Bernard case. Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah. So today we're talking about Brendan Bernard, the case around it, death penalty, shit like that. If we have extra time, then we'll go into discussing other things. We're joined by our lovely hosts, Truman, Biscuit, and me, Blue Spice, as well as our guest, Turtle.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So I believe Biscuit actually wanted to discuss this, or at least came up with the idea of discussing it. So, would you like to give people a rundown on the case itself, or would you rather have myself go over that? Biscuit? Oh, that's right. I guess he said he was getting a
Yeah,
call
I
and
think he's
going
getting his
AFK.
pizza, so you're gonna probably have to start it.
That's all right. So, basically, to those of you who don't know who Brendan Brandon was, back in I believe it was '96 or was it '99? He
Very nice.
basically, yeah, he basically murdered, what was it, 3 people? Basically, he
There's
murdered a
two.
two. I swear they
Yep.
killed the kid as well, right? I could be
No,
wrong,
I believe it was
but
two.
yeah. So basically, him and his buddy basically murdered 2 people, or a family, essentially, right? So his buddy shot one of them, and then they locked him in a trunk, poured lighter fluid on them, and then lit them on fire, killed them. And so very recently, he was finally the death penalty was given. He was in prison for quite a while, waiting for that, and that's that. So a lot of people, including the media, was basically saying, "Oh, he was a great person," and "Oh, this is wrong. You shouldn't kill him," and all that jazz. So I
So what
guess
did you guys discuss? I just came
the
back.
Brendan Bernard case.
Yeah, did you guys go over the details?
A little bit, yeah. So
Yeah.
we talked about how he killed people and basically what happened.
Well, I think
I'll be very back in a minute.
so. He and a group of friends planned a murder. Then one of his friends committed the murder, but he was there as well. And then he helped torch the bodies and get rid of the evidence. So he
Well,
never
actually,
killed anybody.
no, he didn't torch the bodies. They were still alive in the car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't the one that killed them, though, according to the case. He wasn't the one that physically killed them, but he was there when it happened. And also,
He
everyone
was
else in that
basically,
case.
I'm pretty sure he was an accessory, at the
Yeah, he
very
was. He was
least. At the
very much an
very least.
accessory.
Yeah.
But also, everyone else in the case did not get the death penalty, but he did,
Interesting.
which is it. Which is why I think people are protesting mostly.
Not from what I've seen. From what I've seen, actually, is quite a lot of media personalities were basically going on Twitter and shit, and basically saying how good of a person Brendan Bernard was. And to that, I think that's pretty fucked up and stupid of them, because
The man was
honestly, because basically
he. Okay, go on. Yeah,
they like have no idea about the case, you know?
yeah,
Like they're
that
just
is true.
saying, "Oh, shame, oh, he was such a good person."
I
No.
think, but it should also be said that he did have 20 years in prison,
Yeah,
and then in those 20 years, he had an impeccable record of good behavior.
could be.
I don't think the death penalty was the definite option. Like, not. I think in the case, the prosecutors and the defenders, no one was asking for the death penalty, but the judge gave the death penalty as a sentence.
Interesting. So how do you feel about like the death penalty around that, or death penalty in general? Just good.
I think it's a bad idea overall because there's going to be cases where you kill the innocent man. There's actually been a lot of cases where an innocent person has been exonerated after they're killed.
Interesting.
I would have to disagree with that. I think the death penalty should stay around, and there's it needs to be around. You can't just let everyone rot in prison for the rest of their lives. Um, a lot of times I feel like the death penalty is very important, because you got these people who are mentally ill, and it doesn't matter what you do,
You know what? Like
they won't change no matter what.
if the death penalty got it right 100% of the time, I'd support it, but it doesn't. It really does not get justice done because sometimes it gets the wrong person.
Do you happen to know
Well,
the actual amount of innocent people? Or so David's saying that around 4% of are found innocent
What
after
did
they're
you say?
killed. How many cases are you aware of that where an innocent person was killed? Because David's
I know there's
stating
been like hundreds.
David's stating that
I think it's like
there's
okay.
yeah
Me or which
David's
David?
David not you David
Oh,
the, the chat
another
David
David.
the guy that
You're
doesn't
confusing.
that doesn't speak yeah.
Yeah.
He said
So
around 4% are found innocent after they're killed.
and that is a pretty small number, but that's
what do
still
you mean a pretty
people.
small number? That is a
Well,
huge.
it's
If you bring like 1 billion people, and then you say 4% of 1 billion people, it's still like a lot of millions of people.
What I would
Yeah, but it's not a billion, Biscuit. It's probably more like around a couple hundred. I mean, if you let
A
me
couple
finish,
thousand.
if you would let me finish, I would have said that it's a very small percentage of people, but it's still bad.
Mhm.
And this isn't this the media a lot of times likes to play games and likes to say certain things. I'm sure more details will come out within the months. The same thing with the George Floyd case that happened.
No more details will come out.
Certainly.
Actually, this case took place 20 years ago.
Yes, there will. They said George Floyd died from pressure on his neck, but when it came out that he actually died from
But
fentanyl,
the
Biscuit,
the
so
Bernard case,
that's not true.
the Bernard case took place 20 years ago. It took 20 years for him to get brought down to death row and killed. So
Yeah.
no more details are coming out.
Correct, but I'm sure they're going to do a re-investigation on this completely if enough people protest and do everything they can, and they could find more evidence to because right now what I'm looking at is basically him and four friends took two people at gunpoint, put them in the back of a car, drove them around for hours, threatened their lives, threatened to kill them, threatened to murder them brutally, shot them.
Mhm.
Then Brandon lit the car on fire with them in it. Um, you got what a lot of people got to think about too is you got family members. These people were with other families. How do you
There's
think that
also there's
you can't
also
have
families.
open casket? You got to think about that too.
There's also families where the family member is wrongly incarcerated. You know,
Well, yes, but
Sure. So
that's going to happen no matter what you do, Biscuit. And it doesn't matter what happens. You're always going to have the wrong person getting incriminated. It
if you're
doesn't
always
matter if
going
you
to have
have
one
a
person
10 out of
incriminated, why are
10
you
system.
incriminating them?
Well, Biscuit, it doesn't matter what you do. You're always going to have that one person who gets wrongly incriminated. It doesn't matter what you do.
In this case, it's not that one person, but it's hundreds, potentially thousands.
I can agree that in certain cases it could be wrong to use death penalty and that it should only be used in serious and extreme cases, such as even this one. Because when you really look at it, what he did and those around him did was not okay. Now, I agree that he definitely should have gotten the death penalty. I don't agree that the other three shouldn't have gotten the death penalty. I definitely think that all four of them should have gotten the death penalty. When you're committing such an egregious crime to where you are fully aware that at a point in time you're basically torturing people to death, you definitely deserve to be put down like that.
I agree.
100%.
I agree as well. I just did a paper on this. I
Yeah.
agree.
Now,
I think the question was, do you agree the death penalty should have been implemented with this case?
yes.
But I think it seems unfair that only he got it, and even everyone else who was involved did not.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I
I
definitely
agree with that
believe
too.
that all of them should have gotten the death penalty.
So if everyone didn't get it, one person shouldn't have gotten it.
No. No. So, I believe that all of them should have gotten the death penalty. It's unfair that the other three didn't get it, but it is completely fair that he, at the very least, got it. So yeah. So we all can I agree that. Okay, so what are your views, say, on death penalty in general? I
I
believe you.
think I said.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah, go
kind of went into it. Turtle, how do you feel about it?
I mean, the death penalty, in my opinion, is kind of necessary. If there isn't one, then it leaves a position where there's not as much uh, uh, downside, in my opinion at least, to committing a crime. Yeah, you get jailed. That just happens. You get imprisonment, and that's just gonna happen for most everything. But
Mm-hmm.
it with the death penalty for certain things, it is a thing that decentivizes it, makes it less viable or willing.
Mm-hmm.
People are less willing to do it.
Yeah.
You think they should make it that they only give you the death penalty if they catch you on camera? Because if they don't catch you, you're being told based on
Well, no,
word of mouth.
because it's not always a case where you're going to get caught on camera doing something like that.
Well,
right?
I mean that's what
There
you
is
right?
there has, in most cases of someone getting the death penalty or maximum sentencing imprisonment, there's more than enough evidence to where it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Like, me and Truman have taken plenty of law classes, so like we know at least a very little amount that we do know of how that type of stuff is carried out and how it's investigated.
Quick question: does anyone know where he was executed at?
I think I heard about it, but I forgot.
Well, I'm looking at this right now, and so far it looks like the most state that has most executions is Texas, and usually
Mhm.
around 44 executions happen a year. So if 4% of wrong, I looked at it, and it's usually 2.3 to 5% are are wrongfully committed into the criminal justice system,
Mm-hmm.
and that's around 123,000. Now I looked at how many people are wrongfully convicted of murder or executions. I mean, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
and that is 1.84%. That's a very small percent. That's still a pretty huge percentage, but that's still, I mean, that's not a huge percentage. That's more than enough, but that's pretty low. And I don't think it matters if you reform the criminal justice system. It's still going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
You can't be 100% perfect at your job. Even what you do, that's near impossible. I personally think. Do I really agree he should have been executed? After doing some research, I see that he did torture some people. I guess that's pretty messed up.
Mm-hmm.
In 20 years, has he ever? I'm still wondering, has he ever retreated any sort of mental help, any sort of,
Truman, I'm
anything
finding
like that?
here that it's actually 4%, according to the
What?
National Academy of Sciences.
I believe what Truman said was it was
I said it was
1.4% in Texas.
Oh, okay.
No.
Or is it
No,
overall?
in the United States,
So
it's 4.1%.
correct, but so if you look at this correctly, it's 2.3%. 2.3 to 5% of Americans are wrongfully convicted in the United States of America for crimes. If
Mhm.
you look for executions, it's 4%, and 4% of 44 is 1.84.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got that number. That's some pretty simple math.
Mm-hmm.
Well, National Academy of Sciences reports that 4% of death row inmates are innocent in all the United States. So if you did do, like, out of 100 people who were in death row in all the United States, probably 4 are innocent.
But not people don't get that. Biscuit, so far this year, there's only what, 9, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1. Dude, there's not even 20 people dead this year
But
from executions.
after years,
Okay.
you're gonna reach 100, right?
I think what Truman was saying was like overall, or sorry, overall this year only 1%, whereas overall time it's 4%. Is basically what you guys are saying.
Yeah,
Correctly.
over in
Okay.
the United States.
Okay. So yeah.
I think if you're getting it wrong, you're just gonna be doing it.
Well, if you are, so overall, you'd say that you are against death penalty,
Against
Biscuit.
yeah.
So what would you say would be a good replacement for that?
Well, we do want jail, but you can't keep them all in the same jail because people are obviously
Do you
liable
want to
for
think
it.
about it for a minute, Biscuit? Do you want to think
Yes.
about it?
Okay.
You want to think about it? 'Cause I want to bring something up. So I'm looking at some stats here from deathpenaltyinfo.org, and I noticed that they're still using electrician, electrician to kill people
Electric.
back in
Yeah.
2019. Yeah, I didn't know they still did that.
Yeah, I thought that was removed.
I believe most
Right.
states do lethal injection.
Yeah.
Actually, lethal injection is actually pretty bad because what
Yes.
it does, it paralyzes the person,
Mm-hmm.
and then puts him in like horrible pain until
Yeah.
they die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a decent few of actually those cases, like it doesn't really work, and they have to redo it.
Yeah, which
Mhm.
I mean,
for when they wanted to invent lethal injection, they couldn't find a doctor because every doctor sworn an oath to not to only like take care of patients and not kill them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the Hippocratic Oath.
so they had to get this guy who was like barely a doctor, and he came up with the lethal injection.
Yeah.
So there should probably a reformation of how we do our death row.
Certainly. I'd say that firing squads would probably be the most humane. That or hanging, but
Oof, I don't know about hanging.
well, hanging basically you're not really choking to death.
your
Only
neck
in like
gets snapped.
yeah. So you're basically
So I think
kind
it's
of
just too barbaric for me.
There's
Sure.
a low chance that you could survive hit the drop and not die instantaneously.
Yeah.
And that
There's
would
actually
be,
there was a case
that would be
in
looking hell.
there was a case in Sweden where a guy got sentenced to be hanged, and he got hanged, but he survived, and then they had to let him go because the law said he had to be hanged. It didn't say hang till you're dead.
Interesting.
Well, in my opinion, I don't think firing squads is the best way to go. I think that should be only used in military
Military case.
executions. I don't think that should be
Yeah.
used in federal or local executions. I think hanging would probably be
Hanging.
the
Sure.
best, especially since it's been used so much here in the United States. I personally believe in it.
Do you guys believe
Um,
in public
I
execution?
personally no, depends what it is. I think
I absolutely do not support that at all.
I think I think there should be some like especially if like it's a terrorist attack and they got him. I think that should be
No.
public on national TV.
No, it should not. Absolutely not. Jesus Christ.
Okay. So, Truman, why do you feel that it should be public?
That's dystopian.
Like let's say there's another 9/11, right? And let's say that like they caught the guy, they prove him guilty, and they want to hang him.
Okay.
Or legal injection or electrocution or whatever. I think it should be on national TV, and I don't think it should be on the news though. No, it shouldn't be on the news whatsoever. But I think there should be its own channel. It comes up for the day. If you want to watch it, you can watch it. I feel like a lot, especially after 9/11, I feel like a lot of Americans were angry, and I'm sure they would celebrate.
No.
I'm sure
Okay.
they would.
I think they would celebrate because if you didn't, then you look like a bad person.
Okay. So, basically, why do you think that it shouldn't be kind of like publicized or shown to the public in such a manner?
It's barbaric. You're putting on national TV a person dying. That's what terrorists do. You know better than the terrorists if you're doing the same thing they're doing. I mean, we're bombing people already. Might as well put them on TV. Like honestly.
I think the way I think about it is that it probably shouldn't be like aired publicly, because that kind of is fucked up, especially if certain people let's say a kid is scrolling to the TV and like they see that, that's wrong.
I mean,
That's
to be
fucked up.
We
fair,
did do a
though,
paper on that.
to be fair, they do have access to it now with Lively.
Yes.
But no kid, at least kids don't really know about that yet.
Exactly. Like, I think that there should just be official reports where officials are viewing it, and if they need to like record it so that there is tangible proof, then they can do that too. But definitely not something for the entire.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if like the public wants to look at it, then they have to like go say to the public library or request access to that.
I don't know about the pub. I think they're like an official building.
Yes.
Like the FBI.
Yeah, exactly. Like go to like town hall and be like, all right, we want to request the viewing of said thing, and then they have
And
to
you,
get permission.
I imagine you need a reason as well, right?
Most likely, yes. Hey gamer. So right now we're obviously.
I don't know. I still
Discuss.
disagree with that. I did a paper on that about children watching public executions on TV, and it basically came down to like, oh well, it came down to an oh well situation where that sucks, but oh well,
Well, they do public executions in North Korea as well.
right. But this is
Kids
different.
watch-
This is for people who attacked America. They did this during World War II. This is what they did when they captured
And
all
in,
the German officers.
and in North
They
Korea, they say
publicly executed them,
these are
especially
the
in
people
Italy.
that, and in North Korea as well, they say these are the people that betrayed our nation. In Germany as well, they hang their people, their own citizens, because
But
they didn't
Biscuit,
want
we
to be
wouldn't
part
be
of the Nazi.
Biscuit. This would be people. Okay, let's say they bombed your hometown. Wouldn't you be pissed if someone came in there and fucking blew up your market? Wouldn't you be pissed?
Yes,
And
yes, I
wouldn't
would
you
be,
want to fight them?
I
and
believe.
That's what I mean.
I wouldn't be with the sound mind. I wouldn't be thinking straight because there's
I think
so much
yeah.
emotion. You
I
always gotta think straight. Like
Ye-
emotion's just gonna get in the way of it.
yeah. Like doing something like that, I can't agree with public executions in that manner. Like if you
If
have
they,
the ability to shelter a child from viewing something as disturbing as that, then you should most certainly do that, right? Right? It's the same reason why you don't. It's the same reason why you don't tell a kid, "Oh yeah, Santa ain't real." Right? You want to preserve their innocence for as long as possible until they are ready of a certain age to know about those things. There's a reason why they don't teach World War II or specific aspects of World War II in
if
elementary schools.
you teach your kids stuff like reading and stuff because you want them to learn all that type of stuff rather than surviving in the wild.
Like you want them to be prepared for it when it happens, but not immediately show it to them. You know.
Yeah.
Because there's examples.
In fact, I wouldn't show my kid someone dying at all, even if they're
can I
adults.
talk real quick?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's fine. So the thing is, in my opinion, is from experience. Well, not my experience, but you can just look and you'll find that people who've experienced these kinds of things, like seeing someone killed, or like not even like if it's someone related to them, but they're especially to a kid that has a drastic outcome on who they become, good or bad. Most of the time, it ends up not going well for them, especially like what are the chances that say this person who gets publicly executed or hung is then uh, is then shown, and it just happens that there is a it just happens that that person has a kid who just saw their maternal parent or relative get executed. What is it going to make them?
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna just turn them against you. Really, it's gonna turn the populace against you if you're executing their own people.
Yeah. Yeah. Like cruel and unusual. I believe this is actually in the
Constitution, yeah.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
Cruel and unusual punishment.
It's not allowed.
I can agree with that. Like you don't want to traumatize people to that extent. It's a bit rough, but
I mean, there's cases where there's North Korean defectees, and they tell us how they were traumatized by watching their possibly family members, friends die being hanged publicly.
yeah, yeah. Like it should be the U.S. government's job to have the people like them, because if
They
you
are the government.
yeah, exactly, like you don't want your people to despise you. It's not a good idea, and you need to act like they need to act in a responsible manner to where everyone can agree, yeah, that sounds reasonable. If you're holding public executions, no matter how bad the person was, it's a bit rough. It's very rough, and it doesn't seem very responsible, right?
Always
But
be
you all agree that they should record it.
Yes, because it's more for the idea of ensuring that that is what actually happened in that room, right? Not just on writing. And that's it.
you know
And if You are of the age, and you can go into a government building and request access to view said video. But in no other cases should it be made public like that.
I don't know. I think that's impossible because this is the 21st century. I mean, everything's on YouTube. You know, if you want to Google something, it's just on YouTube. So what's the
Well, I
point in
mean,
hiding it?
if you're looking,
Wait,
if you're
hold on.
looking
It's not really
for
hiding
like
it.
a
It's
Well, wait,
ensuring
actually-
that people of a specific age does not see something like that.
well, I mean, look. Hey, look, if you're going to the government office, if you want to see someone die, you go on the internet. If you want to see a specific person die, you go to the government office, and then you see the video. That's probably not going to be unlikely because it's a government office. I think you'd go there for very specific reasons.
Yeah. So moving on from this, Biscuit, you said you wanted to talk about, say, alternatives to execution.
Oh, okay. I didn't think of one.
If you
But
if you thought of anything yet?
I don't know. I mean, they used to do this thing in Britain where people who did horrible crimes and got put in prison, they got sent to the war.
Yeah, I
Oh,
believe
yeah,
that
that
was in
They do
World
that
War
here.
II.
Oh yeah, military service.
They
Yeah.
did that here. That
Do you
was one
think-
of my.
Are
Do
they
you
doing
think-
it to an extent? To like a large extent? Because the British one is
Yeah, they
pretty
do.
successful.
They do it. I did a paper on it. You know, I agree with it. But there's some criminals who can't do it because they're too dangerous. They're too dangerous to be let
Mhm.
out. You know, they're not given guns. They're not treated. You know, they don't actually go do military service. They don't do it.
Mhm.
They just go to boot camp. They get taught how boots would get taught, and
Mhm.
they basically get tore down and rebuilt back up, just how anyone would be if they go into the military.
Mhm.
But without the firearms and all that aspect. Does it work? Yes. It's like scare straight programs. It does work. It does.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
okay, go on.
But you usually get people who are mentally ill and they can't get help. They can't do anything. You can't
Mhm.
treat them. You can't do this. You can't do that. And they have to be executed because let's say they do get bailed out or something like that, and they'll just do it again. It just gets to that point where, you know, I mean, what are they gonna do? Rot in prison and kill a bunch of other prisoners? You know, what are you gonna do?
So, how well aware are all of you of the three strike law or three strike rule?
I am.
I have not heard of it actually.
Turtle, how about you? Okay, so basically the way this works, a certain amount of states, such as California, have this thing where basically if you get sent to prison, like you are convicted 3 times, once you hit that third mark, it's a life sentence. So let's say you steal from a garage and you get caught. All right, now you're in jail. And then you do it again, and once you get out, and again on that third time, you're not getting a minimum sentence or anything like that. You are getting life in prison, because at
I feel
that
like
point,
that's a little much though, right? I mean, if we got
No,
out there
I
3
actually-
times,
if you are doing
like, are you gonna rot in prison forever?
yes, because
That
at
seems
that point
excessive.
you can't be. What the idea behind that is that you can't be rehabilitated. You haven't learned
Well,
your lesson in
I
life,
think
and they do
you're not
warn.
gonna be. Oh, go on.
And like they do warn these prisoners, like, hey, if you do this again, you're in for good, you know. And like if this person has already done it 3 times, and they get out again, what do you think they're gonna do? Like
Do it
at
again.
that point, their
Woohoo,
life
yeah.
is crime.
I think that's an
Exactly.
assumption to make. Like, that's
Well-
a big assumption.
It's
Well,
not.
they give
It's-
them all these chances to change
Well,
and to better
it's
themselves,
3
you know.
chances.
And they give them options to go through different programs,
I mean,
like halfway
it also
houses.
depends. It also depends on the state of mind. Like, if this
Sure.
person's in a good, like, what if they're a normal person but they're just depressed, and they're doing all these things, and then they're gonna rot in jail because they shoplifted 3
Well,
times?
I don't think
They
think
should-
that's appropriate to use someone's depression as an excuse for I don't
Yes.
know, let's say murdering people, especially if they're
Well,
mentally
well,
ill.
this is not a murder thing. This
This
is
is
like
really
if you
any-
commit
This is
3
yeah.
crimes, you get put forever.
Exactly, a murdering would be considered a crime, correct?
Yes, but you're probably gonna shoplift over murdering.
So if even these prisoners are for the vast majority of the time given many chances to change and given options of like, all right, do you want to go through this program? Do you want to go through this program? So on and so forth to rehabilitate them and help them. And what they end up doing every single time is going right back to crime. And
Okay,
at that
and I
point,
think this
are
could.
they a person that you want in the public?
I
That
think it's
you
important too that Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought
No,
you
no,
were
go
done.
ahead. You're good.
I think Biscuit should know the difference too between a misdemeanor and a crime. You
If
know,
you do a misdemeanor 3 times, you'll get put in life in prison. Basically,
is that how it is?
I don't believe
In
that's how it
Is
is.
that the 3 strike? I thought you had to do 3 crimes. I didn't think it
Yes.
was 3
I
misdemeanors.
don't believe they count misdemeanors.
okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure shoplifting is not a misdemeanor.
Yeah. This is things like
So-
robbery,
Rape, etc.
yeah. Like
Murder.
not
That's a
really
crime.
small crimes, more so like medium or high crimes, you know?
Right.
Not like little things like a traffic ticket and shit like that.
Right. I think it's important that Biscuit knows that.
I don't know. I mean, putting someone in life in prison for 3 strikes seems.
So
Like-
Biscuit, let me just tell you something. Let's say your uncle gets pissed at you, right? Because this happens a lot. This happens a lot in criminal justice, and I do a lot of reports on these. Let's say your uncle gets pissed off at your dad, right? He gets so pissed off one night, gets drunk, and doesn't know what the fuck to do. What does he do? He goes and murders your father. You know,
Well, that's
one
immediate
crime.
life.
Well, I mean, I think
Okay.
for
Well-
some reason, Truman, you think that every crime is a murder.
Okay. So, Biscuit, put it this way. Let's say, okay, so I'm assuming you know what assault is and aggravated
Yes.
assault and all that.
And battery, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's say somebody does that 3 times. Do you think that they should just remain in prison?
Forever. I think there should be
Yes.
like a limitation. Like we have
In what
now.
ways?
Like if you commit assault, that's 10 years. You commit assault twice, that's 30 years.
I do
I
believe
got-
they
well-
actually do that.
Yeah, they do. That's what we do.
That's yeah. But they're already doing those 10 years and getting out,
I think we're
and
trying
they're
to
still
fix
on
the
the 3 strike
we're,
program,
tr-
correct, Blue?
we're trying to fix a problem that isn't there. I mean, if you're in prison for 30 years, I think things change. You've changed as a person.
I,
Yes.
Well, good or
You
bad
do.
can change. That's not always certain.
Yeah.
Sometimes being in prison for 10, 30, X amount of years can make you
Uh,
a much worse person.
Also, we also can't make that assumption. Like if we're
It-
making assumptions like that, then like where does it stop?
It
I'm just saying there's a chance. I'm not assuming anything.
sure.
I think it's best for the government not to assume what a person's gonna do because that like the gun laws. People want the gun laws because they assume there's gonna be a mass murder, right?
People want the gun laws because some guy, like everyone else, has some guy
Mass murdered.
go do something that not everyone with a gun's gonna do.
Yeah, so they assume that other people are gonna do it. They're making assumptions, and that's where the
However,
problem happens.
statistically, there will be another. Statistically, there will be another person who's gonna do it. It's just how it is.
So I
Some
think-
guy is gonna do something stupid one night, get drunk, and maybe go shoot up something. I don't know. Things happen.
So do we make the assumption and take the guns away?
In my opinion, there's. I've thought about this before actually. The whole removal of guns and all that. And in my opinion, now I don't want a gun. I'm too young. For any of you guys who want to.
There's actually states where you can own a gun at the age of 9. But go on.
Yeah. But so in my opinion, for the gun law, I don't believe everyone should be able to get. I believe that the people of the United States should be allowed to bear arms as it is a constitutional right, and that the government cannot remove that right. If they remove that right, that's forms of, in my opinion, tyrannical government because then they're taking away from the people, so we will have no way to stand up for ourselves. If the government does something wrong,
Sure.
in the people's opinions.
Mhm.
However, I believe that, in my opinion, there should be something like a mental evaluation test for
Yeah.
a gun, and you'd have to have this test yearly, 2 times a year. Y'all would be better at knowing that than I would, and that's just my opinion.
They
Sure.
kind of do it. They kind of do it a little bit when you do buy a firearm. It's
Yes.
basically just like when you're filling out your background check, or not your background check, but your whatever the paper's called. It kind of like asks you some questions, and you just like it asks, have you ever been in jail? Have you ever committed a crime,
Have you ever been
etc.
like depressed, shit like that?
Right. Yeah.
Have you
I'm
ever
sure it's
been
different in other
clinically
states.
institutionalized or seen a therapist? Yada yada.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. It asks us stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be better like to have like a professional do it, right?
The professional.
'Cause, like, did they take a record or they just like ask questions?
They
They take a record.
yeah
No,
they
but
they
they check your record and say, hey, this guy has this felony. Should we give him a gun?
They do.
Okay, that's good.
My question
How
to
it
that
works, I'll
is,
explain to you how it works. So basically, you go in there. You basically go in there and you see something you want to buy. You go, uh, okay, I want to buy this. And you go in there, you basically talk to them and you say, okay, I want to buy
Mhm.
that. You pay it, you pay cash. Well, here in my state, this is how it works. You go in there, pay
Mhm.
cash. You pay cash, debit, credit, or whatever.
Mhm.
You go in there, you pay for it. Then they have you fill out a piece of paper. Piece of paper's got a bunch of questions.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say which ones to fill out because I know a little tactic. Where you
Mhm.
go in there and you circle one thing,
So
and basically how it works is you go in there, you fill out this paperwork, you sign a bunch of things. They do. You need your license. You go through it. They call the ATF. The ATF
Mhm.
checks you out. ATF says, yeah, this guy's good. He's never
Mhm.
had a criminal history, never been
Mhm.
in jail, never been done anything wrong in his life. Even
Mhm.
like some missile meters could mess you up. Um,
Do they check for mental health though?
yes, they do.
Okay.
So seeing how we're getting a little off topic here, as we were on the Brendan Brandon, was it Brendan?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we can't talk
Brendan
about that for
Bernard.
the whole thing.
Yeah. So what were we on? We already talked about death penalty in regards to that. How do you feel how, say, the media handles it, saying that he was a good person, that he was an amazing person?
Well, I mean, they just want to like get an emotion out of you. Honestly,
I agree
they
with that.
just they want to get you outraged. Outrage gets clicks.
Well,
Right.
here's the issue with it, because it's not just people being outraged by it, right? There are people that are outraged by it, but then there's also the people that don't know jack shit, that are like, oh yeah, this person was a great
They're
person.
empowered.
Exactly. They think that, oh yeah, the media's right. This person was good. No. Right?
Correct.
So the media is like purposely lying. Right? And then you also have people like celebrities going out laying like, oh yeah, this person's great. No. No. That
Like
shouldn't
I
be
met him, he's
acceptable.
great now. Well, I think if you met Bernard, I think he was like a nice guy, but he was like he did horrible stuff. He's I don't know. He did horrible things that he should be in jail for forever.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
like
Well,
because he had 20 years of good behavior, so I imagine he was like a nice guy.
people need to understand that they cannot always rely on the media. At some point, they're just going to have to do their own research because the media is not always going to be true. Especially, this is just going back from we had elections recently. Certain media outlets will tell you certain things, and
Mm-hmm.
another media outlet might directly contradict that.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you just got to do your
correct.
own research.
Yeah.
You literally
Correct.
not relying on the media is a bad thing to do. There are some times where the media is good. However, there are many examples of the media being biased in some way, shape, or form.
You
Definitely.
know, when I
Correct.
read an article, I don't like I ex, I ex, I think everything they're saying is true, but I take it with a grain of salt. Like
Mm-hmm.
if someone says something else, I'm like, I could be wrong. It's probably that I'm wrong actually because I read one article.
Mm-hmm.
But
Correct.
uh, you should probably read if it's something you're genuinely like outraged about. You should probably read a couple articles and not just
Mhm.
one, and do some protest later.
Yeah.
Probably.
What I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of media outlets do nowadays is not really fact writing, but more so opinion writing at that point in time. To
Yeah,
enough to
I
where
agree.
you can't really take anything they say at face value and you legitimately have to look into it yourself from either multiple sources, multiple media outlets, so on and so forth, to where you can find your own conclusion. You know? Like, let's
Right.
say,
I agree.
yeah.
Also, yeah, look, a good example I think would be Chaz, because there was a lot of people saying that like I think the mayor called Chaz a summer of love, but then
Mhm.
again there was people murdered there.
Yeah.
Watched a
Yeah, and
video
like
of-
some people were saying it was like a good thing. Other
Mhm.
people were saying it's like an ISIS takeover.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I
Right. I
so
like
I
to go off that too. They recently made a new one called
read,
Raz, I think it's
read,
called.
Yes.
I read House of
Yeah.
Raz.
so
And now,
And
okay. I actually watched a
uh
video like yesterday on that just appeared up on my YouTube about the Chaz, and it was a person who had drove up from like San Antonio or something. I don't know, some city in California or Texas, and he went up to the autonomous zone, the old one, Chaz,
mhm,
and he did a little video, and the first day was on a Sunday, and everything was cool and all.
mhm,
But then the second day he was there, he had an extra day there on Monday.
Oh, I saw that as
And,
well.
yeah, and he witnessed a effect you could say it's a hate crime for a person's because a guy with a Trump supporter was walking through, and a bunch
mhm,
of people were surrounding him and harassing him.
mhm.
It was
Well,
it
I
was
think
the most
it's
absurd.
also go on.
Yeah,
I think it
you
should
can go
also be
ahead.
said there was people who wanted to beat him up, and there was people who wanted to protect him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Like
saying
it
the
was
entire
weird because
beat him up. It was split.
yeah, this guy in the video he made a quote that they made border security, and then the people are yelling, "Who let this guy in?"
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then
I remember. Yeah, yeah.
I think they said they they're not trying to keep up people, they're trying to keep out ideas. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're there, you have to think the same thing they're thinking, or you're probably gonna get jumped,
Yeah. Most definitely.
It's
right?
either you agree or you're not here.
Yeah.
You're
Yes, you agree or you disagree.
So on the top of kind of like political stuff, how do you guys feel about like, say, the current kind of thing where you're either with us or against us in the current like
I'm a
kind of like
centrist,
political?
so I
Yeah.
disagree already.
so
I
I
got
Yeah.
don't. So in my opinion, I have a stance where like, and I hate a certain group. However, their opinions are sometimes valuable because
Mhm.
everyone has input that could be helpful,
Yeah.
but also everyone has input that could be destructive.
Mhm.
There's always two sides to the same coin.
Definitely.
it's
uh
Yeah.
it's
well,
like okay, go on, Trevor.
I like to like put something on that. I have always watched CNN.
Mhm.
I've always watched CNN my entire life. I never watched Fox. I never watched anyone else because
Mhm.
it's just my TV provider, and they never got it to me. I have
Mhm.
always watched CNN probably since 2014. Okay, that's when I start watching news.
Mhm.
I
I don't.
have before Trump ran for president or anything. I noticed the BS, the lies, the drama,
Mhm.
the everything coming from them. When I started noticing, because I'm really into firearms, I
Mhm.
noticed that they started lying about firearms, how they work, how people can get them.
Mhm.
I like people don't know what the
Yeah.
process is. Like Biscuit didn't know you had to do what you do on a background check. I think
Mhm.
that's the problem too. People don't know.
Mhm.
You're coming to the fact where you can watch CNN, Fox, and whatever, and they all have different answers.
Mhm.
But you got Republican, you got your neutral, and then you got your liberal media. And the
Uh,
Mhm.
liberal media is all going to say the same thing. When your Republican media is going to say something completely different, and your neutral media, which is going to be your like, for me, it's Detroit. Detroit, they're not Republican, they're not Democratic, They're
Mhm.
not liberal. They're not nothing. They're neutral. They're neutral. They're going off facts and they're going off stuff. So
Mhm.
I'm starting to watch the neutral channels because those are the only channels I can believe. I
Mhm.
can't believe CNN. I can't believe Fox.
Mhm.
Even though I see more from CNN, if you want me to be completely honest with you, it's just like YouTube. It's clickbait. It's all it is
Mhm.
clickbait. They want
Mhm.
your views, they want your ads, they want you to watch.
Mhm.
And I think that's a huge problem in the United States. And I don't
Definitely.
think it's going to get fixed anytime soon because I know it's going to cause a lot of problems, especially with the election that just happened. And I
Definitely.
know in 20 days exactly, there's going to be a lot of problems in this country, and
Mhm.
there's going to be a lot of pissed off people, especially when in 10 days.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think
So
Yeah, 'cause
And
in exactly 40 days, Biden will be sworn in because at this point,
so
they
in
it's lost.
yeah. So in this like kind of age of information, it's kind of interesting that there's all these different outlets that either outright like lie or specifically state their opinions, but then treat those opinions as fact. So how do y'all like feel about that when say like way back in the day, media was just straight up media, like they told you what
I
was going on, right? They didn't
I find
yeah,
that
yeah,
I
I
clickbait you
I,
in
totally
and
I
agree with
bullshit you.
that.
I
Yeah.
think I think they're mixing up facts and emotion, honestly, and I think they're mixing up facts and emotion because they've changed values. I think the right and the left have a different set of values now, and what they consider fact is what they value, and what the
Mm-hmm.
other people consider fact is what they value. So when they
Definitely.
both like interchange, the one person considered it not fact because they don't
Mm-hmm.
think of it that way.
Definitely.
this
Well,
is I
I kind of agree and disagree with that. I think they still have the same values from like let's say the 70s and 80s. Because CNN used to love Trump. Trump was always on CNN, in the 80s and 70s doing interviews. Trump was known as, the American, everyone wanted to be Trump back then. Everyone loved him. Everyone wanted to be him because he was the American dream. Everyone just loved him. And it's like, well, what do you do to make him hate? Well, you call him a racist, you call him a bigot, you call him
Uh,
everything you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a problem in America.
look. What I think I mean is you read an article and you hear about a rich guy. One side hears a guy who's exploiting the working class, and the other side hears a guy who worked hard and made it to the top.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
hearing different things from the same things because their values have changed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Yeah.
what
this is just me personally, but whenever there's only one time I'll ever turn on the news, and that's say I'm going to my basement because there's a tornado. Because there's been times when that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
About a year ago, there was a giant tornado wall cloud storm wall, which brought tornadoes with it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the only time I've turned on the news or had the news on, is because I that's the time I want to see. Yeah, okay, what's going on? How long
Mm-hmm.
do I have to sit on my ass in my basement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
I feel like people nowadays, I feel like they're driven to this like kind of clickbaity nature because not many people watch the news nowadays, right? Most of the time we're now online and you can find it instantly instead of just having to listen to those people talk. And what they're at this point doing is just trying to make you watch so that they get that money, right? That's kind of what I feel like a decent chunk of it is.
I
I
Obviously, they
agree
think
want
with
to
that.
express their
I
political views and
understand.
such.
I understand why they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It's money.
there's when you're
Yeah,
writing when you're making an article, you're probably writing an article that 5,000 other people are writing. So how do you get ahead? You make it entertaining. You got to make the viewer stay. How do you make the viewer stay? You try to get to his emotions.
sure. But at
And
what point? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, go on.
So, but at what point is it to where you're trying to make it entertaining and you're just outright lying to people, right? And those people are going to believe that. At what point do you say, hey, that's too far? You need to be held accountable for your lies, for your actions?
I
I
wonder,
mean,
is it possible?
how like what? Go on.
I'm just wondering. It just food for thought, kind of. And I want if anyone can give me like at least a kind of answer. Do you think, in your opinion, the people have the right to sue the media for false information or lacking of factual information.
No, look, I don't think so. Because, like, if you're reading an article, it's your fault that you believed it. Like, you're reading an article that you could have read from another news source. Like, the
But
fact that you believe this specific article is your
Mhm.
fault, really.
But what if that article's wrong, but so is the other one?
So
I mean,
let's
I don't think everyone's writing fake news.
so put it this way. Let's say if somebody makes fake news and that gets people to do something like riot, do you hold that media outlet responsible because they thus inspired said actions?
I think they hold,
I would kind of quickly. I would like to just add on to that. A good example of this could be George Floyd. You know, the media basically made cop bad guy, and basically made the people want to go out, riot, burn down cities. I mean, we know how many cities were burnt down over
the
this
cop.
summer and
First of all,
spring.
the cop was
Oh,
the
yeah.
bad guy. First of
There
all, the
was
cop was not a good
Well,
person.
There was
You know,
he-
I think
examples of that.
That's
I
kind of
think-
assuming. That's
no, the cop wasn't a good person because he had so many warnings against him, so many complaints. That
well, George Floyd wasn't
he
a good
didn't
person either. If you want me to be completely honest.
well, yes, but the cop wasn't good, so don't say he was, okay? So the thing is,
I think what Truman's saying is that all cops are bad, from what the media was saying, basically. Because that's
Basically,
kind of
they're
how
making it
everyone
seem-
started treating cops.
Basically, and I know lots of people who are in my program who stopped becoming cops because they felt threatened. They felt like there won't have be a career. They won't be this and that. And I never said that that cop was a good person. I never said anything like that. That's false.
no, you said the guy, you said the cop, you said they painted the cop as a bad person. The cop
Oh,
was
wait,
a bad
Correct,
person.
and they
Yes.
did.
Because he
Correct.
was.
They made him because they
So,
made
like-
him say, "Well, George Floyd died for the neck being his knee being on his neck." That's false.
Well, he
Instead of
did
doing
break
actual-
procedure by putting his knee on his neck. You're not supposed to do
Biscuit,
that.
I've been on plenty of ride-alongs. I can tell you mistakes happen. Adrenaline goes when someone is committing a crime. You just act. You act to stop them. You act to put you're taught to put the knee on the back of the shoulder. You
I
could have
don't think
slipped. It could have that. I'm not sure.
when you kill someone, I don't think I don't think an
But he
oopsie
didn't
is the
kill
right
someone,
is the
Biscuit. That's what you're saying. He didn't. It was fentanyl, and this is what I mean. The media has made it seem in our head, and you're my evidence. The media put it in our head that he died from the knee being on the neck, when that's not true. Should the knee been there? No, but I'm sure a lot of adrenaline was going through his body at the time.
No, there was actually no. There was the guy
Yes,
wasn't harmed.
He was resisting though. He wouldn't get out of his car.
Biscuit, I believe what Truman's trying to get at is that the media lied about how he died.
Exactly. And
Because
look what happened.
The cop should have been fired. So he
I
did a
believe-
bad job.
I'm pretty sure
He
he
did
was
a bad
sentenced,
job.
was he not?
He was sentenced. He was.
Yeah.
Truman, who
So
died
that's
in that
technically
who died in that scenario?
He died.
everyone who's going to be paying for money when their city is burnt down. That's who's going to be paying for this.
Oh, no, I'm asking. Who
Probably
ended up-
insurance people.
Everyone. Okay,
Sorry, Turtle,
And
can you repeat
people
your
who pay
question?
insurance.
yeah, hold up, Truman. Who ended up dying from
Well, Floyd died.
Who? Will Floyd?
George Floyd?
Yeah.
What are you trying to ask, Turtle?
The name of the person who died.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
George Floyd did die because of his own accord, but the job done by the cops was horrible.
Sure.
Absolutely
can agree with that.
disgusting.
Yeah, I can
And
definitely
they
agree
should have
with
been fired for it.
that. Which they
Well,
were. And
yes.
sentenced.
And that was the correct response.
Yes.
Not all the
Well-
cops. There was cops behind them who were just like doing the job and making sure the civilians don't intervene. I think those guys got fired as well. I think
Yeah.
it's like maybe two of them shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
But
I believe
the
those were
job
like
done.
I believe those were like fresh officers, and they're
Yeah.
basically kind of like
Right.
So-
And they have no
almost in
say.
training.
It's like the military. They can't tell them to stop.
Um,
They can't.
Well, I mean, you can,
Well, you
but
should have.
it's kind of like, yeah, it's like a
It's like like in the Nazis. People.
it's
they
like
got
the right to
prosecuted as well.
refuse if you know the order's wrong. You know.
Yeah, like Like the Nazis, their big defense was I was just following orders, and that didn't go up in court, did it?
Yeah, it didn't go. Yeah, one of the Nazi officers was acting like that, and they dismissed it based on the fact that Rommel denied orders from Hitler to execute spies because
Yeah.
that's a war crime. So yeah.
But
If
what I'm getting at is instead of the media looking into this, waiting, and actually doing their job, they brought anger, they
Mm-hmm.
made everyone piss,
Mm-hmm.
and they look what happened.
if
This
you were
country is divided. It's they said he died in the neck, and they said we
Mhm.
have factual proof. Well,
if
they
you
never
were
had proof.
if you were making billions, I mean millions, maybe even billions from writing emotional reporting, would
Mhm.
you stop?
No, you
No,
wouldn't.
but the
Exactly.
difference is when you need to actively state, "Hey, this is not factual. This has my opinions in it."
Well, I
Right?
mean, a lot of companies that are like news sources,
Mhm.
they're considered entertaining. They consider themselves entertainment companies.
Yeah, that's what they resolve
That's what they
themselves
do.
as. But yet they
Yeah.
don't really act like that. They treat themselves as the news, and that's important, right?
So if you're believing an entertainment company, whose fault is
Not many people know that though, right? Because
it? I
they
mean,
believe,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
these are news sources,
If
right?
you believe a liar, whose fault is it? The liars or the light?
Well, so going back at
Yes
what
and no.
Turtle said, when can the people sue the media? You know, this is what you want to bring up. Like they lied. They
Mhm.
lied. It is 110%. This is
Mhm.
why I lost total faith, especially in the liberal media, completely.
Mhm.
And I lost faith in all medias, but then like the liberal media completely is
Mhm.
just it's so emotionally biased, and
Mhm.
I hate it. It's coming down to the fact where I had to I trust Twitter more than I will ever trust a news media ever again.
Mhm.
You know,
I mean, I
do
think
I?
both sides have emotion involved.
Yeah.
They do. They do. I never said they didn't, but I it's just come down to the point where Twitter is gonna be more factual and
Mhm.
more honest than a news media will ever be again, and
I
it's hundred
agree.
percent.
I 100% agree.
Like what do you guys think of the conversation Rittenhouse one? Because
Kyle
he like
Rittenhouse.
the thing was is he was in another state and
Mhm.
he drove like what 40 minutes. He had to cross state lines. It wasn't that big because he weren't there like near that area, but
Mhm.
he attended the protest. He was there to
Mhm.
protect mostly, according to him. But
Mhm.
then there was two people who attacked him. He defended himself, but the gun he had was a gun he obtained illegally. He wasn't supposed to have the gun. He was allowed to have the gun for hunting, but not for use in the city. Really, he
So
did.
I
I think he
agree
should have been
that he
punished
no.
for
I
having the
agree
gun.
that he shouldn't have been there, but defending himself, I agree with that completely. Right? If
Me
somebody
too,
is attacking you,
Yeah,
completely.
you shouldn't be
I
punished for that at
I
all.
agree with that.
Right? I can understand say, all right, you're not allowed to come back to this state at all. I can get that. Right?
He
But
should be
trying
punished.
to sentence someone to prison for defending themselves is wrong. And I'm
Yeah,
very
I
thankful that
agree.
the charges were
I don't think
dropped.
he should have been put in prison, but he was definitely he should be punished for having a gun he wasn't supposed to have and taking it to a protest.
He shouldn't be.
Okay.
No. He shouldn't be charged for taking a gun to a protest. That's your
Like the,
first. That's your
he
first and
wasn't
second amendment right.
he
You
wasn't
want to talk
supposed to
about
have the gun.
Nazi Germany?
He
That's
wasn't
it right
supposed to have
there.
the gun. He wasn't old enough to have that gun. He didn't have an open
There's been
carry.
like topics about with him being in the police academy that he's allowed to have it. I don't know if it's true, but if I know in my state you gotta be 18 to have that type of firearm.
Mm-hmm.
To our knowledge,
If
he was not supposed to have that gun.
if
Yes.
he wasn't allowed to have that gun, then I agree. I would have to do more research on that.
Mm-hmm.
They say his uncle gave him the gun for hunting, and he got a permit for having the gun for hunting, but the permit was only for hunting, but not for taking it to a
Okay.
city and
If
open carry.
it's
Mm-hmm.
if that weapon is designated and he was not of the age or of the legal requirements to wield that gun other than for the requirement of hunting, then he should not be legally allowed to hold the gun inside of a location that is not designed for hunting.
So you think his gun right, his ability to have a gun be taken away?
No.
No. However, he should be. I believe
He was.
that. I believe. Hold on. In my opinion, I believe that debatably, nobody get mad at me, but this is just my opinion. But that weapon should be restrained from him until he is proven of age or of whatever legal requirement to wield that weapon.
He did show irresponsibility of having an arm by taking it to a protest, and supposed to be there.
If you're going to a protest, you do not need a weapon. That if you have a weapon at a protest, you are doing something.
He didn't went to protest. He went to protect like the buildings around.
He did protect, and he was assaulted many times. I mean, they were lighting trash cans and throwing them at police officers, and he was there putting them out. And then that's when it all started. I know. If he, let me just finish on this. To my opinion, I can see him getting out of all the court cases. I can see him getting through because technically, I mean, he's technically moving. I don't know. That's probably not a good thing to say, but technically speaking, if he did not have that firearm, he would probably be dead because a pistol was pulled on him, and he shot that guy's arm basically off. He was there to help. He was there to protect, and he was there to heal. You know,
Well, I mean,
there's multiple videos of him putting out fires, helping, giving aid to people, and doing stuff like that.
It could also be said that if he didn't have a gun, he might have not been targeted by protesters.
I disagree with that.
So we don't know.
That's a what-if situation, and I don't think that's appropriate to say that.
Yeah, Biscuit, that's what you would say is basically thinking about it. That's not true. That he would have been attacked by protesters no matter what.
I mean, well, we don't know that. That's an assumption.
Yes, we do. We can
because others were
right
attacked that weren't holding. You know.
So at that point, that's not even classified as a protest anymore. That is not a peaceful protest, which is
that's right.
It's a riot.
That peaceful protesting is a right. What that act was, that is not peaceful protesting. That is against your constitutional right. That is not one of your rights. You can't claim I am using my right of protesting. That is not peaceful protesting. That is more that's going closer to rioting than peaceful protesting.
That's not property damage.
It's not rioting yet. It's not all the way there. However, that is not your constitutional right. And anybody who committed acts such as the person who pulled a gun on somebody, that is, in my opinion, that's not allowed, and that you should be going to court for that.
No, certainly.
Well, next topic.
What I saw was he was walking with the protesters. He first got there. He walked by the police. He waved his hand, and they talked for a little bit. Then he went up to the protesters and he walked with them. He walked with them for the longest time. So saying that gun wasn't there, blah blah blah, wouldn't happen. That is not true. That is not true whatsoever. You cannot say that because he was walking with them, talking with them. There's multiple videos of it. Walking, talking, helping people. When the police were shooting pepper balls at the protesters, he was there putting bandages on them, helping them, putting whatever on them. What really started it all was, if you let me finish, Biscuit, what really started it all was they were lighting the humongous dumpsters on fire, throwing alcohol in there so it would stay on fire, and oil. They were throwing them in there and trying to throw the dumpsters, push the dumpsters to the police cars, to the SWAT team, so it would, ruin the SWAT cars, theoretically. And that was wrong. And what he did was he was walking with them, and he noticed that he put the fire out. They were all booing at him and everything. And then that's when it started. That's when they started chasing him, screaming at him and everything. And one thing led to another. He ran down the street. They came up on him, tried to hit him with the skateboard. Guy pulled a gun on him. He saw that gun. He shot both of them. Done.
That's a good point.
And I can say that there have been plenty of people that were recorded being attacked when they weren't armed, right? Such as, say, the walk in D.C. that happened recently. all those people that got separated were assaulted and attacked, right? There's video evidence of that, right? So you can't
I
really
think
say that
you were also more likely to get assaulted and attacked if you were wearing MAGA hat.
it wouldn't matter,
Correct.
Okay,
right?
so that brings up a topic I want to.
Because then, how do you distinguish a person who was there from a person who wasn't there if they're wearing casual clothing?
Wait, hold
Unless
on.
they're wearing a MAGA hat.
Can I
It
bring
really
up?
wouldn't matter because if you were on the other side, let's say I was just over there in my regular clothing, they saw me in that crowd. They know, all right, he's walking with them. If he's not with us, he's against us. And that's what they were doing with people. There was an old elderly gentleman riding a bike. He wasn't in any MAGA merch. He was just riding a bike and they assaulted him.
Right.
Right? So you
Correct.
can't just say, all right, well, it's because that they were provoked. No.
That's
These
correct.
people aren't out there to protest. They're out there to riot and cause problems.
Correct. Cause
Right?
harm.
So your guest speaker has a
This
question.
is when
Sure thing.
I don't think they're all there to cause riot and cause problems, but
Not all
you
there.
have a point.
But if you are there and you are seeing that happen and you are letting it happen, at that point you are a part of the problem. Right? If you are seeing people getting attacked and you are a part of the protest, you should shut that shit down. You should stop people from attacking other people because that's not a lot. That's
True.
enabling it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead and Turo.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this question, and I want I'm just gonna want each of you to answer in your own opinion
Mhm.
at one of the.
I'm gonna be right back.
Okay, but guess who'll be last? And it's just for speed of this that if you could not refrain from going against each other on this. Okay.
Mhm.
So we're gonna start with you, Blue, since you're the top left corner.
Sure.
And so, what's your opinion on the militia groups that are forming in the southwest, northwest of the United States?
can you mention what kinds?
Let's see.
Are
All
you
I know
saying
is
just so? Are you saying like militia groups in general, or specific ones on like right,
the militia
left?
groups that are just in general working with the police and trying to keep the protests civil to an extent.
I'd say that is their right to do that. Right? It's a responsible thing. Right? Because if you are forming a group specifically to aid the government in keeping things peaceful, I say good on you. Right? But if it's at a point where you are causing issues on purpose, then at that point the government should say, all right, you cannot be doing that. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, what about you, Truman?
I know a lot of militia groups. I used to have property right on a militia group training ground. And they would always invite us over for dinner and everything. And these are true patriots. These are people who love their country, who want to protect it from any sort of bad guy government. It's their right to do it, and I know a lot of people, there's a ton of brand new militias popping up since everything that's been happening in 2020.
Since yeah. I
Yeah,
understand
I
that.
I know that there's a ton of them. I think it's okay. I have nothing against it. I think it's cool, kind of. A lot of these people are well trained too. A lot of these people aren't just random people. A lot of them are ex-military, ex-police, ex-firefighter, etc. They all come in there with their
They have
cert
experience.
jobs. Yeah, they have experience. The problem I see though is, let's say something does happen, there's going to be so much confusion. I don't think there should be tons of militia groups out there. I think there should be couples per state. I
Mhm.
don't think there should be 50 in, let's say, Florida, or 100, in
Mhm.
there. I think they should be together, and I think they should work together to
Mhm.
protect their state, because that's what technically their job is.
Mhm.
And
Well, they're
Okay, hold on.
now,
Truman,
but if the soldiers of that state, that's their job. What do you think?
hold on.
But
Not,
right to protect.
Hold
Go
up.
on.
no, no, no. I'm still finishing, Biscuit. I'd like if you didn't interrupt. So
I
I don't
asked
know.
without you.
I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead, Drew.
I was just saying I asked for
Uh,
nobody to interrupt, so go ahead.
I they're cool and all, I know that most of them are patriots. I know there's some bad ones out there. Sure, there's always been bad militia groups in America, but I know that most of them love this country, and I know most of them want to protect this country no matter what from any sort of government. Um, and there's going to be bad people out there. There's always bad people out there. There's nothing you can do to stop bad people from happening.
Yeah,
There's going to be racism. It doesn't matter what you do. Racism will never go away. It's not just against black people. It's against Jews. Polish, Russian, German. French. There's stereotypes for every sort of people out there.
Mhm.
You there's no solving it. You just gotta go on your day,
Mhm.
enjoy where you live, and enjoy what you have, because your country might be a lot different than others, and you
Yeah.
just gotta
Yeah.
enjoy what you have and not fight. This old man came up to me one time and he said something very interesting that I still remember to this day. He said we used to march for our rights, and now we're marching against our rights. And lately, I see a lot of that actually happening, and especially with firearms. And to me, today they just raided a gun shop company who's making these things, and I can see President Biden coming, or President-elect Biden coming in and taking certain firearm issue things out. And it brings up the topic of bump stocks, but we're not going to get into that today. So,
See,
um,
Turtle, if you want to restate your question for Biscuit.
Biscuit, did you hear my question, or do you need me to restate it for you?
Again, please.
Okay, so my question is, and the whole point was I asked for nobody to interrupt so that this could go on as quickly as possible, because I want to make sure that everyone gets their opinions before discussion is made. So, in your opinion, what do you think people forming up militias to, in some cases, to to help work with the police to make sure that protests stay civil and don't break out into uh, riots or aggressive people assaulting each other for no real good reason, in my opinion, at least.
If you have enough militias in your country, that's an up and coming coup. Like, honestly, if you have groups of militarized men in the thousands, that's an up and coming coup. You can't have that. That's why you have police. You don't need a militia to have the police. You have police. You don't need a militia to defend the country. You have the army.
So, what if this is just a question because you brought it up, and it's been talked about? Is what if, say, for some godforsaken reason, the Democrat Party manages to um, cut funding to the police force, cut funding to the army? What then?
If you cut funding to the army and all that stuff, I think it's understandable. Well, I mean, no, it's not, because you have a city council. I'm sure you can figure it out. You just get the funding back. I mean,
So at
if you
this,
have enough
So,
people to agree with you, and you make them vote, and then you get the funding back.
so if I could actually respond to Biscuit's statement about we have police and army
go
for a
ahead,
reason,
Blue.
it's at a point where these not even protests, riots, are at a point where they're actively overwhelming these police officers, right?
right,
At what point? Because like what's going on is that these people tend to like take over these areas, right, with Raz and Chaz, right? Police can't stop that in time because there's just not enough of them.
right, right,
I mean, if you want militias to fight out other militias, that's gang violence at that point. Basically, you got the police for a reason. If they're not
well,
doing their job, you gotta
No,
elect
no,
new
no,
people
Biscuit.
or move the heck away.
I've done a bit of research into Raz. Not much, because it's still very new, and there's not much into it. You're not able to see much into it yet. Because after a certain point, they will show their true colors, but it has not happened yet. So
We
with that, police can't. There's enough people in the Red House Autonomous Zone that the police can't just come in there and deal with it. There's just too
You know,
many people.
I honestly don't want the police to like evict people and like I find it stupid that the mayor is like, you people can't work, and then he's like, you people got to pay your bills. So then
Sure.
he's sending police to evict people.
Sure, I think that's
Like
I think it's
that's
a bit
that
wrong, but at the same time,
it's contradictory.
you can't be saying that you should just move or the police should just do their jobs. They can't do their jobs, right? They're getting overwhelmed. There's way too many people trying to fight against them, right? And
I
there's
would
all
like to
these
bring something
people
up
and there's all these
once you're done.
people. Yeah, sure
Yeah.
thing. And there's all these people just attacking police. They're just trying to do their jobs. They're not the ones going out there making these laws, right? They're just trying to enforce it. They're trying to keep peace. They're trying to do their job, to do the right thing. And
Yeah,
you have all
I
these
think
people attacking them.
and I actually support more funding for police.
Definitely.
But like if people are voting for politicians that want less funding for police, who am I to say no? They voted. You know, like I disagree with it. But like, there's gonna be a new election in Portland, and if they keep voting the same people, it's their fault. It's the
But
majority's fault.
but at what point? Because that's basically at the same time. That's like saying, all right, that's okay to basically punish all these other people that are innocent, that are not causing all these issues,
I mean,
right?
I think people are
It's
gonna
not
are
okay.
like if enough like if enough bullshit goes down, people are gonna get like fed up. People are honestly gonna get fed up, and they're gonna vote for something else. I think.
Unfortunately, that really isn't the case. Like, look at how this country's been running for so long. How much bullshit's been going on. Like,
Like
there's
we're
nothing that's gonna crack it,
Like
right?
California, like over the last year, it's becoming more and more red. Honest.
so
Sure.
interestingly about this is like if you look at it, as soon as COVID hit, and it okay, this is just my opinion from watching as things have progressed. It's gonna be another year until the cure or for the virus that they have said they've completed and they're testing and it's gonna work or something like that.
I believe
They're
they
gonna,
actually already are distributing it.
Wait,
but it's
Yes,
gonna be
I
so
watched someone get it today.
it's gonna be what, a year? Correct me if I'm wrong, but in my observations, it's gonna be a year or up to a year or two before the general public will be administered this cure. So effectively, it's gonna be another. And this most of this exploded during the initial phase of COVID in 2020, March of 2020, and a lot of shit went down. And you can agree, right, with that?
Sure.
So with that statement,
one quick
but
question for Blue is why was P Momo banned 3 days ago?
T-Mobile?
P Momo.
No
We
fucking
have a
clue.
ban. He's banned. He's a
Oh,
banned person.
in the channel. Oh, he was advertising like bots or some shit.
Oh, okay.
I believe also Truman wanted to add to a statement I said earlier. So
Yeah,
maybe we should give him time.
so like about the whole militia things, I totally support that. For someone who's going into a federal career, I probably really shouldn't be saying I support it, but I do. I think militias are a huge part of American history. I think they're a huge part and they play a huge role in American history. I mean, militias have been around since the very beginning. That's what started America. And I think if we were to get into another world war, militias would become a very important part because a lot of people don't know what militias actually do. For example, during World War II, Franklin, you know, Mr. Roosevelt or ex-president Roosevelt, he contacted militias, mafia members, and stuff like that to protect the coastlines of New York because they were afraid of German, missile attacks. So they hired. Well, they didn't hire. They asked for the mafia and militias to come up there and protect the coastlines, so they could send every available troop to the front line. And this is throughout our history. It's the same way, especially through the Civil War. There's been militias before the Civil War that protected everything. And again, if you have mostly, we're just going to say Democrats because it's mostly Democrats who want to support the defunding of police. I mean, that's just becoming a political thing now. It's very true in my opinion. I see throughout the past year. I haven't seen any Republicans who want to defund the police. As
Mhm.
I see, Um, if you do have, if something does happen, what's going to happen? You know, do I believe militias are unorganized? Yes, I think they are. I brought this up, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes ago, how there's so many, it's so unorganized. And
They,
I think that militias need to come together and be one militia in each state and talk to each other and talk,
Mhm.
and get things done. I think that's important, and I think that's very necessary in order to keep America safe. And I'm sure a lot of people who disagree about militias, they think they're terrorists or stuff like that. Yeah, there's horrible militias out there like the Ku Klux Klan, Black Panthers, etc. Even the Black militia, I forgot their name, but
Mhm.
trying to think, with the Grandmaster J, that militia. Yeah, that's a bad militia. That's a threatening militia. They're over there shooting each other, making threats online about don't mess with us or you're gonna get killed, stuff like that. You don't see that with most militias though. Most militias stay hidden, go to work in blue collar homes, do what they're told, and when they feel their rights are threatened, they will attack. They
and
will attack and take out what they feel is right. And this will probably never happen in our
that
lifetime.
that seems like a slippery slope.
Well, you got to think about it like
It,
this, Biscuit. We've
it
had
isn't.
militias since the very beginning founding of our country, and there hasn't
Mhm.
really been many issues with them, bar or save those few militias that are rotten,
Well,
right?
there is more malicious now than there ever has been.
Yes, that is
Correct?
Sure.
true, Biscuit. I'm
People
not.
feel threatened.
Yes, people are very threatened right now
And especially
with
with Joe Biden coming into office, I'm
If you,
sure there's
if,
going to be even more militias popping
I
up
think,
because
yes,
I think
certainly.
that's going to happen.
I think if you organize every militia in the country, you'd have a second government, almost like an up and coming coup, like I said before.
How,
I don't know. I
okay,
I
don't
mean,
think you would.
it would
They're
be
not
though,
that
because
powerful.
Biscuit, hold up. Even if every single mission, it's not, in my opinion, the militias are too disorganized for that to happen. It's just not possible. A lot of them disagree with what they want to protect.
Correct.
Like
Yeah.
some may be there to protect their cities, protect their families, but some might be there to protect their rights. But which right they're trying to protect is maybe different from Group A to Group B. And
Correct.
also,
Yes.
back to my point real quick on the whole rioting. There's no rioting correlating. The increase in rioting, in my opinion, having correlation to COVID is there's no way for us to know if out of nowhere COVID mutates into something and this cure doesn't work anymore. What are, in your opinions, do
well,
you
it's not a
think
cure.
will get worse?
It's not a cure though. It's a vaccine.
Vaccine, sorry, vaccine. So I'm sorry, I apologize. So, in Europe, do you think that the rioting will dramatically increase again, like it did in spring, if, say, the COVID virus mutated and the vaccine no longer is effective?
I
I would.
don't think
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
don't think people are protesting because of COVID. I think they're protesting because they have more time at home. They're saying more things on the television. They have more articles to click on, more to be outraged, and they're going outside because they're so pent up with this idea, this emotion.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean that it correlating to like COVID as in it's a bad thing. I'm saying the coronavirus has directly affected the increase, not like because of the because of what the coronavirus is doing. That's, oh my god, I'm not able to speak right
I
now.
understand what you're saying, and
Yeah,
I can say something about that. Yeah, no, I don't think I
I'll
think
be right
people
back.
be pissed, but I don't think they're gonna riot over it or anything like that. What people are gonna be pissed about here is you got these politicians who are saying, yeah, don't go outside. I mean, I'm sorry, don't go to restaurants, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And what do they do behind your back? They go there and you see it a lot in California. You see mayors, you see governors doing this a lot, and especially in Michigan too. And I think that's what people are gonna get pissed about. I don't think about the vaccine. I don't think I mean they might not. I don't think they will. What I think what really pissed him off is if like Biden comes in, he's like, okay, guys, we're gonna shut down this country. Everyone was like, "Oh, okay, cool, cool. Are you gonna give us a stimulus check?" Nope. you know, what? How are we supposed to last a month without a stimulus check? If you
Oh, and
shut down the country.
actually, that
You
brings me to a
know.
different point. That just should,
I
in my
personally don't support a stimulus check.
not okay. Like in my opinion, I agree with Biscuit. I don't support a stimulus check because when I am 25 in 10 years, I'm gonna get this big old tax bill because of I'm paying for the stimulus check that we're getting now. Okay,
Correct.
I will say this now: is I have benefited from a similar thing, a bonus, while I was working in the summer from working while the coronavirus quarantine was in effect, and I I was enjoying the extra income. However, I was not happy the fact that uh, I am going to end up paying that out of my wallet in the future, and it's gonna make my life harder because if they don't increase taxes to fix this, well then I'm gonna end up at probably 20 to 40 years in my future. Inflation is gonna become bad. It's just how that works. The more money in the economy, the less valuable your $1 is.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
I don't like it because first of all, we're in debt. Second of all, they're printing money and like very fast. You shouldn't be doing that. And third of all, because it's you're broke. Government's broke. Everyone's broke in government. You shouldn't be giving out free money. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, they
Then
just spent
inflation
like
goes up.
over $1 trillion these past like 6 months. Like,
We
what?
don't have $1 trillion in our budget. We printed the money.
Exactly.
Yep.
And are we gonna have to pay countries ever back? Probably not. But it will
We
probably
One
ruin
day.
our system.
we are going to pay them back because
I
we
doubt
have
that.
to. First,
Nah,
uh,
I doubt that.
unless that country like we go to war with them, we're paying them back because first of all, we have a reputation as a country. Second of all, we like having good relations with countries. You know,
Yeah,
Trump disagrees with China.
yeah. I disagree that we'll probably never pay anyone back. We'll probably go to war with someone and make them pay it all back. That's
Oh,
probably what's gonna
probably.
end up happening. Probably be China. If you want me to be completely frank with you,
if we go to war
America.
with China, we don't know if we're gonna win. You never know if you're gonna win a war. Don't expect to win.
Okay, hold on. Hey, Biscuit, how that would go? Actually, we would, uh, we would never. This is from me watching an educational video on it. We would probably never need to land troops on the ground
No, we
because
wouldn't.
we can just starve them out. They may have what 50 more ships than we do, 100, but their vessels are dramatically worse than ours are. Our navy is from my research is the strongest, most powerful navy in the entire world.
Hmm.
Sure.
And
But it also depends from how far. Like, if we do this 10 years from now, the Chinese Navy is probably more powerful than ours. If we do this now, they are not.
in
You know,
10 years, their navy will modernize a bit. Yes, however, it will take an extended because you got to take into account they have to either scrap all of their ships or they have to refit their ships, which takes years to do. Building ships and scrapping ships and refitting ships takes an extensive amount of time.
Right. It's easier to build a ship than to redo it.
Hmm. So they would probably end up having to scrap all these ships. Well, that takes men and time. Well, then you don't have those men in time who are trained in the construction slash dismantling of naval ships that could be, say, building new ships.
Right. And
I don't
that's
know, man.
pre-war. That is not active war. If
War
America goes
now.
to war, we're full.
One.
We're full. We're full fledged.
That never go to war expecting to win. Go to war
I'm
like
not saying we're gonna win, but I'm saying America's power in wars is unbelievable. Especially, these are just these past couple years. We just been fighting these stupid little wars just to train our troops and train our generals to make sure we're the best military in the world.
Well,
That's
you also
the reason
don't
why
want to
we're at
call them
wars.
stupid little wars because thousands of people have died in them. But you know, like even little wars, like the Vietnam War, we lost, dude.
All
Like
right, so
We didn't lose anything.
we
technically,
left. We didn't like
we
We
complete
lost
our job.
democracy. That's all we lost.
We
But
lost
then
thousands of people, and then we left.
All right,
do
so
you know
just to
what?
kind of keep it
Sorry, go ahead,
on
Lou.
topic of like kind of laws and shit going on in the U.S., is there anything you guys want to talk about?
Okay, because I've been asking a lot of questions. I'll let someone else go before I do.
Do you want to risk it?
Well, me?
Either or. Is there anything
Oh.
you want to specifically talk about?
I thought someone was gonna say it. Nope.
No, Truman.
no.
Because we're gonna have to wait like another week. I'm probably gonna like at the end of the podcast be like, "Oh, I'm gonna talk about that."
Could
So,
be.
Blue, do you have anything you want to bring up before I speak?
I don't believe I do actually.
All right. I just tried rubbing my eye with my finger, and then I realized I was rubbing it with my brace, cast
Mm.
thing.
Oh yeah. You want to tell people how you lost your finger?
Yeah, so I was getting my mug out of my cabinet, and it was sitting on top of another mug, and I can see Biscuits enjoying this, and so I was trying to. So the second mug, the one that was my mug was sitting on, fell, and I tried catching it, and instead of catching it, I must have applied more pressure because it shattered on the counter and cut my finger, and now my hand hurts a lot because of surgery.
Yeah. He has 9 fingers now.
All right.
No, I think he still has 10. You still have 10 fingers, right?
I still have all my fingers. It's just one has
Yeah.
more than 4 stitches in it now.
Is the finger gonna fully come back? You gonna like be as strong as you were
The
before?
the hand is supposed to get full recovery. The tendon should work just as normal. The nerve is the questionable part because there's 3 options. I get full feeling back, I get partial feeling back, and I don't get any feeling back.
Interesting.
So it's complete. It's we're praying for at least partial.
Okay.
You guys ever broken a bone before?
No, I've never broken a bone in my life.
No.
No. Truman, you ever broken a bone before?
No, I haven't.
Interesting. Biscuit.
No one here has broken a bone. I haven't broken a bone.
I would not. I guess we're all very careful people.
Yeah, we're all
Um,
very.
I always played football in my life. I just never broke one.
How?
I've had
Impressive.
I've had a few near-death experiences.
Really?
Mostly all rock climbing involved.
Oh,
So
yeah, of course.
What?
there's this yeah.
Go on.
So let's see. Let me think here. Actually, most of these all revolve around a place in Wisconsin called Devil's Lake. And there's basically this giant. It's basically a lake that's kind of surrounded by a shitload of super doofed like mountains. And one of these mountains has a basically rock formation called the Devil's Doorway. And there's like basically a couple ways to get up. You can walk up a kind of several iffy paths. You could rock climb up or you could boulder up. And every single time I've bouldered up. Basically, you're climbing the mountain without really ropes. Yeah. And so both times on my way down, I've slipped. And like this is like a couple hundreds of feet of falling. Right? It's basically boulder, 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 boulder. So you generally have like a foot, maybe a couple feet of like clearance of being able to move. And I have pictures of that and I could show you guys later.
Are you gonna go again? Like ever?
Definitely. I love that place. It's so beautiful. The view is beautiful. I suggest if
Do you
you're
think-
ever in Wisconsin, go there. It's beautiful.
We should
Do you
all
think-
we
do
should
you
all
think
take
one
a
day
nice
the
vacation in
boulder will win?
Wisconsin just to see Blue do some boulder climbing.
Definitely. We should.
Do you think one day the boulder will win?
Oh, it'll win.
Hopefully
It'll
not.
win. Hopefully not though. That would not be a
I
fun
mean, I've
fall.
had so many close experiences. Do you
Yeah.
think one
Yeah.
day?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I got one last question because I like to hear people's opinion on this. It's about symbols in America. Now, let's say someone.
Well,
Let's
actually,
say.
before you say that, I gotta say the Confederate flag is banned on Twitch now, so you
Yes, it
can't
is.
use it.
Yep. Not surprised.
Right. Symbols in America, in words and flags, and stuff like that. Let's not do words. Yeah. Let's do words actually. Now, let's say someone going around. Do you think people have the right in America to fly like a Confederate flag or whatever flag they want?
Okay, hold on. Now,
Well, they do have the right.
Let's
whole-
do this in an order of people. That way, we're all not talking at the same
Yeah.
time and interrupting each other. So, Truman, who do you want to go first, and then?
Well, we'll just start Blue Turtle then Biscuit since it's
Okay.
like that.
I,
Naturally, I believe that no matter what they're flying, whether I disagree with it or agree with it, they have the right to do so, as it's kind of like a part of free speech. The only time that I would ever condemn anyone saying or flying something would be if they're directly calling for violence. That's it. That's the only point where I'd say, all right, no.
Okay, Turtle.
Okay, so in my opinion, when I was my first learning to drive, is my dad. I'm still learning to drive, but my dad. We were going on the road, and someone had a flag, a kind of Union flag, and this is just what I learned is that you can't fly. You're not supposed to fly any other flag other than the American one. You're not supposed to fly any flag up higher than the American one, if you're gonna have any other flags. But in my opinion, yeah, I agree with Blue on the you can if you have a flag and you're inciting violence with it, you should be allowed to fly that. But there's one specific flag that I believe is no, I don't agree with, and that's the Confederate flag. But that's very specifically because of the Civil War. Like if
I mean,
if the Civil War didn't happen, it was just a flag, then okay, yeah, it's I understand, but that flag, like if it's displayed in a museum, I understand that. That's because, and I'm not saying ban it, but people just flying it or carrying that flag in a rally or something, that's extreme, and that is not okay in my opinion. But yeah, in my opinion, if you're learning history or if it's in a museum, that's fine. That's in my opinion, that's where it belongs. All right, I'm done.
Okay,
the
Biscuit.
so yeah, I agree. People should be allowed to like fly any flag, but yeah, I mean, there's not really like anything else. If the flag doesn't really matter. Like I understand. Like, do you think people should be allowed to have like Antifa flags?
Yes.
A what? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you think people should be allowed to have Antifa flags and fly them?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
As much
I
as I hate
guess.
it, I say yes.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree with Blue. Even if
On
I hate
topic
it,
with this,
yes.
actually, you
but
guys
like
want to
one more
discuss free
thing.
speech before we end?
I
Well,
I
let
personally
me.
think
I want to give my opinion
you
on it.
can't be a patriot
Oh yeah,
and
of
fly
course,
the
of course.
Confederate flag.
Let Truman.
So, like, this is like I hear a lot about this. It's just not the Confederate flag. I mean, any sort of flag, shirt, stuff like that. And what I'm mostly meaning is the MAGA hats too, because I think it's hilarious when someone gets so angry when you fly something they disagree with. We would used to fly Trump flags at our high school just to piss people off because they would scream, call us racist, and stuff like
Wait,
this. And this
what?
is,
Hold.
yeah, we would do it because people would be whatever with us, and the school would come out and tell us to take them down because it wasn't right. And we said no. So this
Detention?
is no, we never got detention. We never got in trouble. Because we looked it up and it was like a lawsuit due on them.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
So
so basically, what I'm trying to say here is like, yeah, I'm not just talking about Confederate flag, a Nazi flag, a Japan flag, Italy, whatever. I'm talking about like any sort of symbol, any sort of speech, any sort of whatever. Like for me, I went to a Trump rally and I bought a MAGA hat and I put it on and I went in there and um everyone was happy. You know, this is the problem I think with America. You see this Trump rally or this Trump parade that happened in DC. You see people getting threatened just because they had a Trump flag, a Trump hat, a Trump shirt, or whatever. I think with groups like Antifa or something like that, I don't think they're anti fascist. I think they're fascist, radical socialists. I think that's what they are because
Well,
they
Antifa's actually
disagree. Well, it's not very
they
quote
consider
unquote.
themselves anarchist instead of, I think, socialist.
Well, even if they
Wait. They
did,
consider themselves what? Sorry, no
Anarchist,
interrupting.
anarchist.
Anarchist?
well,
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what the
that's
A, I think, in their
that's
flag
that's
is.
kind of a
No,
weird.
Antifa stands for anti-fascist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
but
anti-fascist
Antifa
has been
stands for
around
anti-fascist.
since forever.
I've
But yeah.
I've met a couple like Antifa, like, and they're all like anarchists.
Sure.
You
Well,
know,
well, the issue with Antifa is that they're splintered off in many different groups, so many different
also, like,
different
if
of
you
them
have
have
the
different
if
kind
you
of.
have the Nazi flag, Blue, you said you don't support any flag that calls for violence. Do you think the Nazi
No,
flag calls for
no,
violence?
no, 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 no. What I say, I don't care what flag you fly. What I care is what you were saying whilst you were flying that flag. If you are calling for violence, then you should, in fact, be punished, which is laws. So on top of actually that, with the flying of flags, if we want to end it off with this, what are your guys' thoughts on free speech? How do you feel about it?
Well, you should have it. I mean,
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
we'll start with
it's a
Turtle, I
right.
guess, as
So
well as like hate or quote unquote hate speech, if that should be added into the laws. So Turtle.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I was wondering who you were starting with. Okay. So hold up. Oh, there we go. In my opinion, which it is my opinion. Nobody else needs to have it, or nobody needs to agree. But I believe that the uh, that those kind of things are not okay. Like you can't just go around saying like I understand the freedom of speech, but there's an extent where even freedom of speech could become abuse in some way, shape, or form. You guys agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, that's a really good
It
point. Yeah.
depends on what you're referring to in terms of abuse.
No, I disagree with that. I don't think it can be abuse.
So if
Hmm.
say you okay so um Biscuit, I'm no mean to offend you in this example, okay? No mean, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Say me, Truman, and Blue came up to you and started calling you racial slurs or ethnic slurs or whatever, okay? That's considered harassment, or that's considered
That is
verbal
considered
assault.
hate speech, actually.
Yes.
No,
Yeah, that's considered hate speech.
hate speech specifically within. Okay, first and foremost, there is no proper definition of hate speech. Um, the only kind of speech that is
Under
banned
a
in the
law.
U.S. No, that is actually incorrect. The only speech that is actually disallowed, which is already stated in the Constitution, is speech that directly calls for violence. That's it.
Hmm.
So it's not actually defined as hate speech.
All right. So Blue, what do you think on that scenario? Do you
I
agree
don't.
that
I
that should be
find that
allowed?
I think that it is wrong and deplorable, but at the same time, you can't really ban something like that, right? Because at what point, if you're saying what Biscuit said there, like it's defined as hate speech, at what point? Because at that point, it can become down to opinion, not fact.
Mm-hmm.
And at that
I
point,
agree.
that's going to be something that is extremely difficult to enforce, and it's going to be extremely edgy to enforce, right? Which is something that's actually been going on in Canada, which is called Bill C-16, which
Oh, okay.
forces mandated speech. You have to say this specific person's thing, and if they feel offended by it, they can be punished for it.
Oh,
All right.
that's something. So I
I will
personally,
apologize.
I mean, if
Can
you
I say
call
again,
me like, oh yeah,
sorry, Biscuit, but I'm apologizing as using you an example. It's just you are a good example. In no mean to offend you. In no means.
Yeah, it's fine. Go on.
Alrighty.
That
I
was it.
mean,
That was it.
I don't really get offended. Oh, yeah.
I believe.
I mean, I think people should be allowed to call me whatever they want to call me. Personally, I mean, it's the right to choose. But like, if you're like threatening me, like you're gonna go beat me up or shoot me, then I think you shouldn't be allowed to say that because then you're
That's
threatening me.
extreme, and that's no.
Yep, and
that's,
that type of speech is banned, and you can be punished for that.
Yeah. So I believe in that kind of speech restriction,
Mhm.
where if you're telling someone to go die and you're gonna kill them, they should be, not like a felony, but they should be put in some sort of list.
Sure. So you'd say you agree with the current speech laws that we have implemented
Yeah.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
I can agree with them. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no way to define a certain line without causing a bad outcome.
I think the laws that we have, that is, if you threaten someone, that's a pretty clear line, because
Mhm. Yeah.
but like hate speech, like if you don't say someone's pronouns, I think that's where we stop losing where the line was drawn.
Definitely. Truman.
Yeah, I agree. But basically, again, like any sort of flag or anything, it doesn't bother me. Um, coming from a Polish family, the Nazi flag, it's whatever. I have family members who were killed in Auschwitz. They live right down the road from it to this day. They live like 30 minutes away. So like, to me, we live in a country where this is okay. If you called someone racial slurs,
Mhm.
I don't agree, but like again, that's you're right.
Mhm.
Um, but when you're attacking them physically and threatening to kill them and stuff like that, that's not right. And I got two examples right here. The first example is the mega march, in DC, when the couple, the male and the female, were walking together, and I'm pretty sure the male was wearing a Trump shirt, and they were calling him names and stuff, which is cool. But then they were throwing water bottles at him, pushing the girlfriend, and
Mhm.
I don't support that. I think that's
Mhm.
wrong. But again, that's
Definitely.
the same thing as calling someone a racial slur. But um, but threatening them, pushing them, and making them feel uncomfortable. I guess again, uncomfortable doesn't mean anything, but pushing them and threatening them and trying to beat them up, you know, we see a lot of that, especially with like Antifa and everything and the radical left. You see them sucker punching people and running away. That's the typical, thing that a radical left person would do. We also see here in Michigan, a lawmaker threatened Michigan Trump supporters, threatened to come and beat them up and everything, and threatened to hurt them.
Mhm.
And that's not good. She was disassigned, where you want to say. Again, flag wise, whatever you fly is whatever. Again, I hope people educate themselves before knowing what they're talking about.
Mhm.
Um, because half my family's from Eastern Europe, and the other half is from the deep south. And coming from the deep south, I go there all the time. And what people say is a Confederate flag is not a Confederate flag. um, my family has real Confederate flags from 1862.
Holy, I want to see that.
It's it's amazing. It's still up, and there's a history
Oh,
plaque on the house saying
I
what
mean,
happened there. you
to
know um the
if
rectangle
go on, sorry.
cross with the 13 stars, that's not a Confederate flag, that's a rebel flag. Know the difference. you know
I
we fly, a lot of people in Michigan fly that here. It means hardcore, it means whatever. It doesn't mean anything uh, you know hateful or anything. No, it doesn't.
The Confederate flag?
No, the rectangle, the
What you
rebel
think is
flag.
what do you think of what you think the Confederate flag is? Isn't the Confederate flag? That's
It
actually a
isn't.
different flag.
What is a Confederate flag then?
It's a square flag. Well, there's multiples. They had multiples. The first one was what you see as a rectangle flag, as is today. It was a little square, and it was on a rectangle white flag, and it only took up the corner. Like if you think of American flag today, you know the blue area of all the stars.
Mhm.
Well, the Confederate flag would go there, and the rest of the flag would be. And if you know your history on this, you know that it caused a lot of problems. Caused a lot of problems during battles because a lot of Union people thought it was a surrender flag,
Hmm.
and they thought that they were surrendering. So then they put a red stripe at the very end of it, and they still thought it was a surrender flag for some reason, and they just thought there was blood on it. So then they changed it to kind of look. It kind of looks like how Texas flag looks today,
Yep.
with the 13 stars, and yeah, I mean, if you want to be honest here, I mean that's how that was the official Confederate flag, and then they had the battle flags, which is what is that? It's the cross with the 13 stars on it and the red and blue, and
I
it's a square. It's a square. It's not a rectangle, you know.
I personally think if you fly the Confederate flag like proudly, that's not you're not a patriot
I
because
think you are.
patriots.
I think you
Well, I mean,
are.
patriots are the one
depends.
that fought against the Confederates. The
No, no,
Confederates were
it
traitors
depends.
who left the Union.
You can still be a patriot for the United States and have a Confederate flag.
Well, I mean,
Thing
if you're
is,
flying it proudly, you can have a Confederate flag. It's fine. But if you're like proudly flying it, then that's where I draw my issue that you're not a patriot.
you
Well,
could be. Well, hold
I
on.
can agree
You
with
could
that.
be. Yeah.
If they're flying like the actual Confederate flag, if they're
No, I mean, if you're flying the Confederate flag
yeah,
proudly in general,
yeah,
All right. Hold on. Okay. Now, because I'm probably going to go in a little bit.
sure thing.
Is yeah, Blue. What are your thoughts? That's your question, and you'd be last, most likely to answer.
To free speech, which is what I had mine.
Yeah.
I believe I already made my statement for it. Is that
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
yeah?
All right. Then.
Like I'm fine with the current free speech laws.
Mhm.
Does anyone have any closing remarks that they'd like to say before I go ahead and end this?
Yeah.
oh,
There was.
running.
yeah,
Oh,
I would. I would. What Biscuit said. Times were a lot different back then. Today, we think as a country. We don't think as a state. You know what people don't realize what happened back then was, um, if you were born in Michigan, you
for
were
Michigan.
forced. Yeah, you're a Michigander. God, stop that! I hate it. Ugh. If you were born in Michigan, you had to fight for Michigan. If you were born in Alabama, you had to fight for Alabama. Okay? Like General Lee said, he would have fought for the Union, but he wanted to protect Virginia. He was born there. He was against slavery. That's how a lot of people in the Confederate actually felt. My family is from Kentucky. We're from Harlan, Kentucky, and we did not support slavery. We were against the Union because they quote unquote invaded us and because they made us choose a side. And, you know, uh, that's just how it is. And they're patriots, but they're also, they're defending their state, is what it comes down to. They were defending their state and they're patriots to their state. That's what it comes down to.
By
Interesting.
So,
killing American soldiers.
well, they were forced
Well, no.
to.
Yeah. And also, they weren't
They were
at this
forced to kill
point in
American
time.
soldiers.
They were not American soldiers. They are ex-state militia or ex-state soldier.
Oh no, they became Confederate soldiers from going to
Correct. They were
American
forced
soldiers.
to. Correct. They were forced
Mhm.
to become Confederate
Think of it
soldiers.
like this biscuit, like in World War II, how Germany was conscripting Czech forces. They were forced into that, it wasn't their really choice, because it's basically either face the wall and get executed or join us.
So
Yeah, but then
hey,
again, the Czechs, they committed war crimes even if they were forced to join. They still have a part in what they did.
Yeah, of course.
The times were a lot different
Yeah.
back then. People weren't so quote unquote whiny
things
how they are
things
today.
have changed dramatically.
Yeah, people were more manly and not whiny when they had to
Mm-hmm.
All right.
fight.
So
So
Alrighty. Does anyone
All
else
right.
have any closing remarks?
yeah,
Or
I got one last thing.
sure thing.
Okay.
And then I'll finish.
We're gonna do
I'll finish up my part of this, isn't it? Afterwards.
before
But
you say that, we're
go
gonna reach. Before before you go your question, we're gonna reach 2 hours in like a minute.
Yep.
yeah.
Minute 30.
Yeah.
All right. So
So go on.
the and this is just real quick. Say yes or no to this question, and then that's it.
Mhm.
And the list will be go down the list of Biscuit, Blue, Truman. Okay.
Okay.
Biscuit, do you agree that the people have the right to basically declare themselves something like the Red House Autonomous Zone or the Czech Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone? Yes or no?
Do I think they can do that? No.
Okay, Blue,
First
No.
of all,
Truman.
no, wrong.
All right, and I agree with all of you. No, they shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Okay. Biscuit, do you have any closing remarks?
I said no because they are causing property damage, even to the to people who aren't like in it.
Yep.
You know,
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Alrighty.
All right.
So my
they're doing
closing
more bad than good.
yeah. So my closing
So-
remark would be recently I was on Twitter and this was on one of these Trump posts. One of these people were really angry about them. And in there I posted a comment being like, yeah, blah blah blah. And a lot of people would either be on my side or against me. And there was only one person out of the entirety of that was against me, that was speaking to me in a rational, calm manner and having a civil discussion. And I think that's something to be cheered on and valued. It's important nowadays that people, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, you have a civil conversation with them, right? To understand the other person, whether you disagree with it or agree with it, you know? And so, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end it here. You can check us out on Twitter. I'm going to post it in the chat below. You can also find all of our social medias, me, Biscuits, and Truman's, connected to that Twitter. You can also join our Discord off that Twitter. If you have anything that you'd like for us to discuss in the next podcast, feel free to join in on one of those. Add us on Twitter, add us on Discord, have us talk about it.
Turtle is I'm very thankful that you allowed me to come here tonight.
Yeah, most
and
certainly.
I hope that in the future I can participate again when I can either type or not be when I can feel my hand, because that would be great.
Yeah, certainly. Anyhow, thank you all for watching. Have a lovely day. Stay safe. We'll see you next week on Saturday, or either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. One of those 3 days. We'll always post. It's generally always at 8 p.m. CST. Peace out. Good luck.
Have a good day.
Have a lovely day.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye.
All right, bye.
Can't say. Wait, where in Florida do you live?